welcome to our last episode of season 2 of A Little Perspective. We are so excited to be wrapping up wrapping up the last episode of season 2. And just Angela and I've been just really reflecting and reminiscing of all the great episodes we've had and just the great people that we've had on our show. And I can't definitely tell you it's been a wild ride. It's just been a lot of awareness for us, a lot of awareness for our audience, and just so many beautiful people and incredible stories that they've shared. And we're just excited to see what else we can come up with, and we look forward to our third season and more amazing stories to share. So our topic for this last episode, as we wrap up, it'll just be us two, your lovely co-hosts for this episode. And I'm sure you probably heard of this topic. It's definitely been a hot topic in the buzz of the Little People community, but we'll be talking about the new drug that's been approved in October 2021 of last year. This drug is called voxzogo. It falls under the brand name Voxzogo, and it's been approved by the FDA, and it's claimed to be a treatment for kids with achondroplasia. So what we're going to do today, we're going to be talking about this drug and the certain claimed effects of it and the different viewpoints of it. And I'll be having Angela take the lead on answering some of those questions for us so we could get more information on what this drug claims to do for the Little People community. So I'm going to turn over to Angela to answer our first question. Angela, what is Voxzogo and how exactly is it used?
Yeah, so Voxzogo is a treatment for achondroplasia dwarfism, and it is a daily injection that you can start to receive as young as a newborn, and you take it daily through your growing years. With achondroplasia, it is a cartilage to bone issue. So our cartilage is very slow to turn to bone in our arms and legs. We also tend to have complications that come from having dwarfism, including back issues, sleep apnea, hip issues, joint issues. Hydrocephalus is rather common, and just a variety of other things. And so with achondroplasia being a cartilage to bone issue, this treatment is intended to increase that bone growth. And so it is meant to then give the patient some additional length in their arms and in their legs.
Thanks, Angela. So, would you be able to tell us how this drug came about? What were the trials that were involved with it? And what would you be able to take us through the timeline of why was this drug even developed in the first place? And what did the trials show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so why was it created? I don't really know the answer to that. Greed probably would be what I would say, but we're trying to be nice and I'm not going to be ugly. So there like I said, there are some complications that we can have with dwarfism. So hopefully this drug was created with that in mind. And the trials show, all the trials at this time that they've put out show is that there is an average of I think 1.5 centimeters a year, but the total average inches gained during the 5-year trial was 3 inches. And so doesn't quite add up to the yearly and the overall. And so it's an interesting thing because I feel like there's some disparity between patient to patient, even though we don't know that because they don't give us those specifics. But it was a 5-year trial for each age group, the older kids and the younger kids. the older kids group, which is ages 6 to 12, I think, was the FDA approved it in October. And it has been growing like wildfire in our community since. I know that they offer a lot of discounts and financial services to be able to encourage the opportunity for parents to enlist their children, um, and if they want. And so I believe that that has created an influx that was very unexpected on my part. I did not expect to see that. And so and I feel like I'm rambling now because I don't know if I've answered your question.
No, you did. You're right. I totally see what you meant about how it treats everyone differently, because I think what's important to know is that achondroplasia, even though it's the most common type of dwarfism, it affects everybody differently. Like how like I have achondroplasia, and I experience it differently. It impacts me differently, and I think I just can't help but wonder it when these trials are taking place, or like when this like drug was being developed, like if they considered all those things. And like it's not just like a same like it's dwarfism, achondroplasia, disability, it's never a one size fits all.
Right,
And like even though it claims to increase 3 inches in five
yeah,
years, it how do
yeah,
we what's the guarantee?
right. And
You know?
what are the side effects that come with that? And that's kind of, so on the one hand, we have no proof at this moment that there's any of the medical needs that we have will be resolved from this treatment. Now, there's a chance that it will because it is so new, and the more people that take it, the better their odds are. So hopefully that is what comes to be. But at this moment, that's not what we've seen. And when the drug was approved back in October, we certainly didn't see that. But and so it surprises me that people are willing to dive into a new drug that we really have no idea what the long-term repercussions are. If our skeletal structure is different because of our genetics, and there's a treatment that's trying to kind of put a band-aid on that, there's no way to know right now, until these kids are grown and we see how it progresses on their body. Because even as a healthy, achondroplasia with minimal complications compared to others, and like you said, everybody's different. You can look at my sister and I and see the vast difference in dwarfism and how it affected her versus how it affected me, and that's genetics. Like, we're the same, right? And so everybody is certainly different. You also have to keep in mind that if you are a short parent and you of average height, but you're just short, and you have a child with achondroplasia, they're going to be a short achondroplasia dwarf, because if you were only going to grow to 5 feet tall and your achondroplasia slows you down by 25% or whatever, then you're only going to be 4 feet tall, or, like, the math isn't exact, but you get what I'm saying. And so, my point being that you not only are battling against the genetics and the condition that we have as achondroplasia, but your own genetics. And so sometimes I wonder if parents are wanting more than they're going to be able to get just physically, because unless you have the opportunity to exceed that growth, because growth hormone doesn't work for us,
It
right?
doesn't,
So
no.
it's not at all the same thing, because we don't have it's not a hormone issue.
No.
It's a genetic condition.
Mm.
And um so I just say all that to say that I think that sometimes when you look at those brochures or hear, when the pediatrician who knows nothing about dwarfism is told that this is an amazing opportunity for someone to feel normal, and they want to sell it to, their patients, there's not the whole story being looked at as far as um how many inches could my child actually gain, and is it worth whatever risks that we don't know, maybe, because like osteoporosis, if we're creating more bone from the cartilage, does that increase the chance of osteoporosis? Like, and these are just get like, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but again, we don't know, and we already have so many issues as we age. Our hips and our back and our neck definitely wear out, for most achondroplasias, like even the healthiest of us. And so if difference there's something going on with your bones, like if you've altered them, I just, I'd hate to see something get worse as we age. So um that is, it's just an interesting thought of it being simply just lengthening right now for arms and legs, which is much better than the alternative, right? So the alternative was limb lengthening,
Exactly. Yeah.
which was surgical and
Mhm.
brutal
Very
and
painful. Mhm.
extremely, where they literally cut into the bone to and then stretch it, just really brutal. And so it's a much better option than that. But I also, same you said, I try to tread lightly, because while my opinion is my opinion and I feel like it's right, because otherwise I wouldn't hold it to be my opinion, I never want to make anyone in the LB community feel like I am ostracizing them or criticizing them, because I completely understand why people make these decisions. I get it. Um,
Absolutely, absolutely. Like we don't know everyone, every family is different. Every family is, circumstances are different. We don't know why you know, people make decisions that they do, and like we can't, and what's important is that what we do for ourselves and what we do for our families, and like what's best for them. Um so you mentioned that it's a injection. And do these kids take this injection every day for as long, like, is there a certain time, like, how many years do they do it, like, until, like, they are 16? How long do they when are they expected to stop?
16 until they're
16?
done growing, yeah, and so,
Okay.
yeah, until their growth plates close is when they stop. And so in the NPR interview that I did, they also interviewed a teenager. He was 15, and he had been through the trial, and he stopped it because he didn't want to deal with it anymore. He didn't want to deal with being stuck. And so he had a year or so left, but he quit, and had to convince his mom to let him quit. And so it's, and that's another thing where, we're really lacking in consent. But I get it. Like, if the best option is to start young, then if that's what you want, then you want to start young. But when you consider consent, it just makes things even more complicated for sure.
It does. Um, so you've mentioned that because this is such, a like a high topic, like in it, and even like a moment, like a topic of controversy, because we are seeing two sides to this story. Like we're
Mhm,
seeing LP parents like feeling that no, my child does not need to be fixed.
mhm,
Like we do not want to give some have my child go through something telling them that they are a problem that needs to be solved, that like this
mhm,
will like fix you. And
mhm,
then you have average sized parents really believing like, okay, this will help my child, this will help improve their quality of life, this will
mhm.
really increase their confidence. Are you able to share both viewpoints of what you've seen and
Yeah,
the benefits?
I think it's important to remember that the majority of children with dwarfism are born to average height parents. So 80% of children that have dwarfism are born to parents who have no prior history with dwarfism, no, didn't expect it to happen, don't, necessarily have even met a little person before. And with that comes a lot of unknown, and unknown means fear. And add to that doctors that have never had a patient with dwarfism. And we all know that sometimes doctors like to bite off more than they can chew, and they don't always go about things the best way. And so those two things can create a situation where, when offered a treatment to improve their child's quality of life, they're much more willing to jump on it, even if we don't know the long term. And I get that, because as parents, everybody wants what's best for their kids. Nobody wants, to settle for less for their children. And when you haven't experienced something and it's your baby, you can really allow yourself to create images and thoughts that are scary, and that you never want any child to have to endure, much less your own. And so having this be introduced to you can seem like, okay, this can help her, and that can help ease some of your stress and struggle with worry of the future for your child. So I completely get it. Like, I 100% get it. I also get it from the LP side, where, we as, I'm a my kids are third generation, and, my mom's an LP. So my perspective is very different than an average height mom's perspective, because I know that I can survive name calling and the struggles, but I also know that there's some pretty cool stuff that comes along with being a little person too. And and so I know that my kids are going to be fine because I've lived it, and they don't know that. They don't, and I get that. Um and they outnumber us adults, and so it's harder to be heard and feel understood in the community sometimes because of that. But in the end, everybody has a right to make whatever decisions they feel. There's concern in the community of division, and creating a kind of a split between the real little people and, the others or whatever. And whether that could happen organically or intentionally, there's just a lot of fear, and that's really all that these things are based on. And it breaks my heart to see, the struggle, because everybody feels like they're right. But I always want what's best for our community as a whole, and I don't appreciate the message that voxgo sends. um Not for me, not for you, not for my kids. Like, I don't want that expectation to where, oh, you're not like other people in the world, so let's just make you like other people in the world. Well, no. Let's just make the world a better place, because we're not going to all be fixed. We're not going to all gain 3 to 6 inches, and the fact is that we are all made this way. And, certain beliefs would certainly say that there's a reason why we're made this way, and whatever way you're made is the way you were intended. But I think I'm rambling again, so sorry. But yeah, I
No,
so
you're totally good. I'm asking you those questions. Like, you are the expert. um, you're so right about what you say, in the sense that instead of focusing on fixing the person, let's fix the societal issue. And the societal issue is that we still have barriers. Like
Mhm.
there's this world is not accessible. This world is not built for us. And and this drug is not going to solve that. These kids may grow 3 inches, but the bullying's not going to stop.
Right.
Like the ignorance is not going to stop. We're still going to have, accessibility issues, and like we're still going to have problems of like inclusion and
Mhm.
equity, and like we're still going to be fighting for that humanity recognition.
Mhm.
So that's like where that's where that question is, because
Yeah.
as little people, as parents of, little people, we spent a generation, we spent a lifetime being like learning to embrace ourselves, learning
Mhm.
to embrace ourselves and develop a system for ourselves to be able to combat all of the daily ignorance. And like I said, that's not gonna change. Like
Mhm.
we're gonna have name calls, we're gonna have stares, we're gonna have microaggressions until
Yeah.
the day we die.
Yeah.
And this drug, like I said, yeah, I'm 3'9". Sh-
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 feet. Wow. Like on paper, it
Yeah.
sounds yeah, it sounds amazing. It like when you think like it when someone tells you that, like a
Mhm.
number. Like again, like when you're a little person, like every quarter of an inch makes a difference. Like
Mhm.
matters when it comes to your body. But it's it's just there's just so much unknown. It's
Yeah.
just so much uncertainty. Like does it because like the health complications that really impact our life
Right.
is that like is will that still be there? The sleep apnea, the spinal stenosis, like
Mhm.
you mentioned the hip joint, neck, back,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
limited mobility we have as of it. And like you said, like you bring up a good point about even if it claims to increase height, it's still messing with our bones in some way. It's
Mhm.
still doing something to our bones that we don't know for sure what it's doing.
Right.
And it's like, what are those long-term effects? And
Mm.
like, do we even have the answers to that?
Right. And we won't until, these kids that are taking it now grow old, and I get it. We'll never that's the only way to know how any long-term effect of any medicine is. So I get it. Like somebody has to be the guinea pig, but it doesn't make me feel good. And there's also concern from some in the community regarding how these kids are going to look, because they won't look like an average height person, but they won't look like they have achondroplasia either, so it gives them, will it then cause them to feel like they are straddling two worlds, or that kind of a thing. And so there's so many factors that we just don't know. And I wish that it didn't take off as much as it did. I think that's what it was so upsetting for me, was to see the celebrations, the excitement. There was like no caution, no hesitation, and I'm not trying to say everybody was like this, but there was a lot of it going on online, and it was very unsettling. And I think another part of it, another concern, which is fear, is that we are losing advocates, potential advocates, because if they get fixed and they don't need to and they don't want to identify with us anymore, then they're not going to stand up for us either. And that's an assumption, and who knows what'll really come to be. But I think that's part of where that mindset can go when we hear things like this, and it feels like eugenics. It feels like they want to fix us, and we're, like you said, we've spent our entire lives like trying to convince ourselves that we don't need fixing. And we don't need another reason for the world to tell us, well, not only do you need fixing, but now we have it. We can fix you. And it's like, no, I said I don't want to be fixed. So I think that there's a lot of unknown on both sides. And um because it's such a personal topic, it can get heated so quick. And I hate that, because I, again, don't ever want anyone in the LP community to think that I would isolate or ostracize or divide, someone because they made that choice, because that's one of my fears, is that them making this choice would cause some of that within the community, and I don't want to be a part of that for sure.
Mhm.
But I do feel like I have a responsibility to say my part of it, even if it doesn't agree with them.
No, for sure. Like you said, it's very personal. It's such
Mhm.
personal because like we've been through it. Like we've lived it. Like this affects us. This affects the whole like dwarfism community, and it's it, and it like you said, it's just so sad to see there's not enough information. There's not enough evidence.
Yeah,
Like like to say like this that it's gonna make this difference.
yeah,
And like you mentioned that a few seconds ago you said that this kid like a kid that takes the drug, and if they they grow a few inches, they still won't look like an average sized person, but they
mhm.
won't look like a little person either. Can you talk more about that? Like
Yeah,
what
so
is
I
that
mean,
effect?
so our bodies are disproportionate, right?
Right.
So that
Mm-hmm.
means that when our torsos are the same average size, when we sit, we all kind of look eye to eye, as a
Right.
person with achondroplasia. There are other types of dwarfism that aren't that. There's oh my gosh.
Like SED.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
so, anyway, proportionate. There's proportionate and
Mm-hmm.
unproportionate.
Fortunate, yes.
And so, we have short arms and short legs. We have a big head, and we have a regular sized body. So with the injections working in the way of turning cartilage to bone, it is simply going to be, at the same rate. So if all of your bones are still, like, let's say you gain, just for numbers, half a centimeter, all of your bones gain half a centimeter. It's not just your arms and your legs.
All your bones.
Yeah, because it just targets cartilage, right? It doesn't target like arms, legs. So it gives you, all of your bones grow. And so you're still going to grow in the same shape that you are. You're still going to have disproportionate arms and legs. So, if you grow 6 inches, if you're one of those who just happens to really take off, then you're going to be a 4'6", 4'8" dwarf. Like it's it's going to it's not going to be I don't think everybody has thought this out, if that makes sense. I don't want to say that. That sounds ugly, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just don't want people, because like I know how it can feel to be, I don't know personally, but I know that there are certainly situations where people feel stuck between two worlds, whether it's biracial or biculturally or whatever it may be. And so I feel like this could possibly, be that, and I'd hate for that to happen. Um, it's all just so much unknown though.
So much. Um, do you what is LPA's stance on this? Because I know they've been a part of that conversation, or they've been trying to even stay away from the conversation. I know they like from the communications I've seen, they would have town halls regarding the subject. They even like had representatives from Biomarin come and talk. And like so what is LPA's position on this?
Yeah, so LPA is Little People of America, and it
Mm-hmm.
is the organization that, where we are able to connect with other little people all around the world. Even we have, we'll do, like, I'm the president of the Mississippi chapter. So we'll do local events, then we have a big national event where it's like thousands of little people get together. So that's what LPA is. So their stance is really important because they are really kind of our cornerstone, or have been for a while. And so their stance they try to be they try to please everyone, and I get it. Again, it's a very tough spot to be in when 80% of average height of children with dwarfism are born to average height parents. You are talking to, it kind of becomes a us and them thing, and and you have to just try to, especially as an organization, prevent that as much as possible. And so that means kind of taking the high ground, going neutral. Well, 2 years ago, right before COVID in 2019, the national convention, they allowed BioMarin to be a sponsor. And they, as a sponsor, they got a chance to stand up and talk about what they do, and that didn't go so well. And that was kind of the beginning of this like civil war within the community. And the next year they did not allow BioMarin to sponsor it, but they started to open up some more conversation. And at this time, LPA was actually facing some more fire in regards to inclusion, DEI, just kind of being keeping their not being as outspoken as they could be about certain things, and not being intentional about making sure that there's equality within the community. And so um they felt pressure from that, and then this happened, or that this happened and then that, whichever way. And that really caused them to start to try to fix some things, because it was burning down real quick. And because nobody was happy, neither side was happy. And so they tried to get out in front of it. They did, like you said, they did some town halls, they did some calls, they did, just allowing people to feel heard. So their official statement on it is that they think that we are fine just the way we are, but that they also understand why someone would choose it, which is pretty much my statement too. So I get it. But they definitely put themselves in it when they allowed BioMarin to be a sponsor. Um, I don't know what that thought was. I don't know how they thought that was gonna go, but that's what split it open, really. I got to sit on a panel, a focus panel. It was a blind focus panel, so I didn't know what it was, but I figured it out later, um, for this in 2018. And then in 2019 was when they did the sponsorship. And then ever since then, LPA has been trying to clean it up. There's it's an interesting, cultures and subcultures are so interesting. I love people. I do. I love humans. I think that we all have inherent goodness, and I think that, we all are meant to be connected and to collaborate and such. Um, but humans are still human. And so it's, when when we have this subculture of dwarfism, and then within that we have the parents, and parents just in general are parents, right? And so they're all going there's, do you let them cry it out? Do you rock them to sleep? There's, everybody has strong beliefs about how to be a good parent across the board. So then you throw in something like this, and there's the discussion of, do we as LP adults with children feel like we have more to offer the conversation than an average height adult with an LP child? And that's kind of been the push and pull since this whole thing set fire. And there have been parents who get it and want the elder LPs to help guide and educate and lead with their experience and so on. And there are parents who don't. And again, parenting is wild enough, and then you add LP, so it's just like subculture on top of subculture. And so it's interesting because it kind of creates a impasse in some ways, where if you aren't going to take heed to what I, in my experience, says, then what's the point of us even talking, kind of a thing, you know? So, I think LPA has done a good job cleaning up the mess that they made. I think they should have done a better job about not getting into the mess, but that's, hindsight and so on. But I see them genuinely trying to be more, inclusive and across the board, and then to also be more pro little person, because for a minute it felt very much like they had turned their backs on us, and that's not a good feeling when it's like your people, and so um I I think that if we could just get a study that says that there's some improvement in the medical stuff, like if we could just get some kind of signal that, like, okay, this does more than just lengthen bones, I think that would be a big game changer for the community, and I think that would help us to really be able to navigate this a little bit better, but only time is going to tell with that.
For sure. I think it's just these when you're new parents, like new parents, like you were
Mhm.
mentioning that, like it's still sad that there are still doctors, like healthcare professionals out there that may have not, worked with, parents with dwarfism, kids with dwarfism. And it's, I don't know what the curriculum is in the medical field, but like this needs to be taught. This needs to be um like part of the like educational system. And it's because it's sad because like the healthcare professionals, when you're a new parent and your soon to be child is going to, have dwarfism, this doctor, everything that the doctor says they're going to take, they're going to
Mhm.
listen, because the healthcare professionals are revered so highly in this
Mhm.
community and like all around the world, that if a doctor says, "Oh, this is going to help," they will
Mhm.
they will do everything they can to get their hands on it, because
Right.
in their minds, they want to do what's best for their kid. They want to make sure their kid has that quality, successful, productive life. And if like 3 inches can make
Mhm.
that difference, yeah, why, like, go for it. I'm all for my child. And it's hard because that's what average sized parents will say. Like that's what, like, this is for my kid. I'm doing it for my kid. Like we
Mhm.
we know you're doing it for your kid. Like we're not here to judge.
Right.
It's just we want we hope everyone's making the best informed decisions
Mhm.
and understanding that it's, even though you're a parent of a kid with dwarfism, you're gonna be that parent. You're gonna raise that kid. You're gonna love that kid. You're gonna do everything in your power that it still won't. You'll still never 100% experience what that kid's
Mhm.
gonna go through.
Mhm.
And I think that it's about having that awareness to realize, yeah, you can, yes, if a kid is being bullied, if a kid's like having a barrier, yeah, you'll be there to an extent, like to help them go through it, to help them get through it. But in the end, it's still not the same.
Right. 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 And I think, again, like that fear of not knowing if these parents are still going to be advocates for us, and because I mean, so, when you're talking about medical care and such, like that's why we did the parents book, right? Because we wanted other people to understand that dwarfism, being told that your child has dwarfism, is not the end of the world. And more times than
Yeah.
not, when a doctor finds that the child has dwarfism, they will ask if the parent wants to terminate, and it's like there's absolutely no reason for that question to be considered if the clearly this parent had planned on having this child up until this point. So there's no reason for that indication to change that decision, and so, and for the doctor to recommend it or even suggest it as if it were something they should consider. And it's not just once or twice, like it happens all the time, and even if they find that the child has dwarfism after birth, there's still that whole, fear, and oh, they'll, whisk them away to the NICU for hours on end without, telling the parent. And it's like, there's, unless there's a need, obviously, but there's no need for that just because they're small. But it's just, there's no, because it's such a rare condition, there's no education. So that's why we did the book. We wanted people to be able to see and understand that this is what happens. Stop it. Like,
Yeah, like we're a rare condition for sure, but like we're not. This happens
right,
before, this has
right,
happened before. We're in a new age now.
right.
It's like it's happened. We're rare, but like we're not rare.
Yeah,
Like
there's
it's
TV
enough.
shows, like, like
It's
it's not
there.
so rare that there's TV
Yeah.
shows. You can see that these people are perfectly fine. Like, what are you? Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
but it's ignorance, and then and fear mongering, and so I can see how a doctor could easily convince a parent that this was a good decision to make. uh,
Mhm.
because we all want what's best for our kids, like, period. There's nobody that doesn't.
Mhm.
um it's just, I want to ensure that the community is able to stay together despite all of this, because the truth is we need each other. We are a social people, like, we're social beings, like, that's, and again, like you said, nobody, unless you are a little person, even if you're raising one, and or married to one and raising one, you still will never understand what it's like, ever. And so there's and I didn't have LPA growing up, so that didn't, I didn't have, I was second generation, so I had my mom and my sister, but I didn't have LPA growing up. But now that I'm a part of it, I see how valuable it could
Mm.
be for adults and kids. And so I just don't want this Voxgo situation to deteriorate what we could have as a community, because of fear.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think this is like the time where we need each other. Like this
Yeah,
is like where we need to stand together and just really support each other.
yeah,
And I hope that continues.
yeah, yeah.
Wow. So any last thoughts? Any final words, or just like for new parents, or like what they should think of, consider, or just like parents that are considering to put their child through this, or words of support for LP parents, like just like any last words of advice for anybody.
I think I guess my advice would be that we always have to look at the greater good. And I would never suggest someone sacrifice their child's, quality of life for the greater good. But I don't think that we have to choose either to do Voxgo or to be advocates. I think that if, for whatever reason, if someone chooses the Voxgo path, you can still be a killer advocate for the dwarfism community. And that's all I ask. I mean, that's all I ask of everyone, is to be an advocate, whether you're doing it on your own behalf or someone else's, because that is the only way that we will evolve as a planet. And we really have come so far, and we are really starting to be able to see how, when true DEI is implemented, that we all benefit. That when there is diversity in racially and physically and mentally and culturally and all of those things that we all benefit truly. And so that includes dwarfism, that includes disabilities. And so just don't feel like you have to choose between the voxzogo path or being an advocate. You can do both, and because we still need you desperately. So don't feel like it's one or the other.
Wow. I totally am on board with you, Angela. Thank you so much for sharing your insights on this Voxgo treatment that is designed um, and claims to treat little people, specifically kids with achondroplasia. Thank you again for being such just a vocal advocate for the disability, for the dwarfism community, and just for humans all over. Like you said, DEI is about being a better human. It's about treating people better and embracing each other. So let's continue to fight for that. Let's all work together to ensure that everyone has a voice in this world.
Yes, 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 yes. And Samyuktha, I just want to give you an extra special thanks. And I know I've already told you, personally, but just for being a part of this podcast as my co-host, having you join me was the best decision I ever could have made. And I am really excited for season 3. So we definitely want y'all to, go back and check out the episodes from season 2 if you missed any. We interviewed so many amazing people and really got some insight. I learned quite a bit, and
So
I think
much.
that our audience did too.
Mhm.
And then next year we will be back focusing on disability and marginalized humans. And so if you guys have a topic that you want us to cover that you haven't heard, we would love for you to send it our way. We're always looking for ideas. And we are excited to bring back an even better season next year. So again, thank you, Samyuktha. I am so grateful for you.
Thank you, Angela. It's been a blast. I can't this has been an amazing ride with you and just having you as a partner, and doing this podcast with you has also been such like you made my dream come true. Like I've always wanted to do this and you just opened the door for me. So thank you. Thank you.
All right. Well, I guess that is about it for season 2.
Mm,
Now, if y'all have
yeah.
any questions about what we talked about, drop them in the comments, shoot us a message. I'm happy to continue to talk about it. It's something that I'm very passionate about. And like we said, if you have any ideas for next season, let us know. But that's it for us. We are
Yes.
going to take a break and get some of our weekends back and enjoy a little bit before season 3 kicks off for 2023. So
Yes.
thank you all. We love you and we hope that you have the best day.
Thanks everyone. Talk to you soon.
Bye.